Okay. Well, let's get started, folks. It's top of the hour. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Hey, it's Dr. Eric Naputi. Hope you're having a blessed day wherever in the world you are. Welcome to our Wednesday night workshop. I'm so excited to be with you tonight. I've had so many calls and questions this week about this very topic, and I'm really excited to share with you a little bit tonight about stress. And I want you to understand that most people don't know what stress really is. Most people don't understand that stress really is one of the biggest problems with all men and women on the planet. It's one of the biggest causes of all stress, all health problems and health challenges that are on the planet to this day. I don't know if you know this, but stress itself is about 70% of adults in the United States are reporting some type of experiencing of stress or anxiety. Now, about 60% of children, ever since 2020, 60% of children are now expressing that they're having some level of stress, anxiety, depression, etc. And chronic stress has become really the norm due to, well, work pressure, family organizations, financial concerns, the digital overload. I mean, being on social media all the freaking time is really truly a massive stress for all men, women, and really children on the planet. I'm going to tell you, you should be monitoring your screen time, and you should also be monitoring the screen time of your children. I want you to understand that the effects that stress has on your health is really just absolutely insurmountable. And tonight we're going to talk about what stress really is and how it affects your health. We're going to talk about, some of the signs that you're under stress, or that you have adrenal fatigue syndrome, which is I don't have any more hair to pull out as a functional medicine practitioner. I can't tell you how many of my patients have come into my practices, or I've done virtual consultations with, that have said, hey doc, I know that I've got adrenal fatigue syndrome. Well, what's the cause of that? Like, if we're really all about getting to the root cause of the problem, then you need to understand what that is and how that works. And then I want to talk a little bit about how stress impacts your body physically, chemically, and neuroemotionally. And then I want to talk a little bit about some of the biohacks, some of the things that you can start doing right now to help improve your health. I'm going to talk for about 30 minutes, and then I'm going to do a Q&A for 30 minutes. So if you have questions, type them down in the Q&A area on the bottom of the screen. So let's talk a little bit about this. So first of all, when we talk about stress, you have to understand that stress deals with health. So health is physical, chemical, and neuroemotional. Remember, we talked about this before. Many people have symptoms and have dis-ease and have all kinds of problems going on, but the root cause of those problems is really what needs to be addressed and what needs to be found out. And most people don't know how to do that. Most people aren't assessing that. That's what we've been doing in our practices for the past 20 plus years. And that's what we do at BioLimitless, especially in the BioLimitless Centers of Excellence. We're all about helping identify the underlying causes of people's stress. And here are some of the physical effects that people have when they have stress. And you tell me if you have any of these going on. So from a physical standpoint, people can have muscle tension. They can have, chronic stress leads to tension in the muscles. It leads to pain. It leads to headaches. It leads to increased risk of injuries that people can have. It leads to increased heart rate, increased blood pressure. Prolonged stress can also increase cardiovascular stress and strain and can lead to heart attacks. Not to mention hypertension and heart disease. The chemical effects of stress, it can impair digestion, it can cause blood flow issues, it can cause issues like IBS, it can cause ulcers. That's a major issue that we see with people to this day, that a lot of people have stress and it negatively impacts the digestive function. Well, that's a leading contributor to leaky gut. And many of you have heard me talk about the problems that we have systemically of leaky gut syndrome. And when you have stress, your cortisol levels go up. And if the cortisol levels go up, that literally turns the brain into Swiss cheese, and it turns the intestinal lining into Swiss cheese. So the toxins that are in our intestinal tract can leak out into our blood and leak out into our brain. And that can lead to autoimmune issues, chronic inflammatory issues, chronic pain, and so much more. So we can also have hormonal imbalances. So many of you out there have issues with, if you're a female, you've got premenopause, perimenopause, you've got hot flashes, you've got hormonal issues, you've got, loss of libido, you got loss of desire for, engagement and etc. with sexual function. A lot of times men will have low testosterone, have erectile issues. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And these are all caused by stress. And that stress is either physical, chemical, or emotional stress. And the human body does not discriminate against that. Look, if you have prolonged stress, you could have things like anxiety and depression. Did you know that chronic stress can alter brain function and brain chemistry? Literally, we've talked about the chemicals in the GI tract, the neurotransmitters that are produced in your GI tract. 90% of your neurotransmitters, which are the chemicals that tell your brain to be happy, healthy, balanced, to be fulfilled, to have energy, to have enough, desire to get through the day and do what you want to do. When we are stressed, we get the cortisol levels that go up, the stress hormones go up. Short term, those help us, but long term, those really cause some serious problems. And I'm going to tell you that people get anxiety, they get depression, they get an altered brain chemistry, which then leads to brain fog and insomnia and even more physical and mental and more emotional issues. It's this vicious cycle that so many of you are on and so many people are on. So let me give you some of these, the top 10, if you will, signs and symptoms, top 10 signs and symptoms that you are stressed out and that you have adrenal gland issues. First of all, let me back up and talk about the adrenal glands. Did you know that there's an organ that sits on top of your kidneys called your adrenal glands? The adrenal glands regulate all your sexual hormones. They regulate your body's ability to absorb minerals, and they regulate your body's ability to absorb the sugars. So if you have blood sugar issues, whether your sugars go up or down, so hyperglycemia, hypoglycemia, those kinds of things, or insulin resistance or diabetes or any of those types of issues, we have to always check the adrenal glands. Your stress, physically, chemically, or emotionally, could be contributing to your blood sugar problems. The adrenal glands also regulate the mineral absorption. Well, the minerals are everything. If you don't have minerals in your body, not only do we lose the density of our bones, which can lead to osteoporosis and osteopenia, but all of those minerals allow for our muscles in our body to contract and relax, including the heart. So if you have imbalances in those minerals, that's going to cause some serious problems. And I will tell you, and most naturopath doctors will tell you that the root cause of most diseases that are out there are simply because of mineral deficiencies. And those minerals, you could be taking them, but not absorbing them because you're under stress, because the adrenal glands aren't working. And then the last thing that those adrenals do, like I said, they regulate all your sexual hormones. So you could have low testosterone, low progesterone, estrogen dominance, or an imbalance, either high or low, of all three of those sexual hormones in the body. And that could be the reason why you have low testosterone. That could be the reason why you get hot flashes. That could be the reason why you get estrogen dominance, which can cause metabolic syndrome. It could cause the brain to have dysfunction. I mean, so many things can happen when our body's chronically under stress. So here are the top 10 signs and symptoms that would indicate that your body's stressed out and you have adrenal gland stress or fatigue. Number one, it's real simple: chronic fatigue. How many of you all know people whose get up and go got up and went? Look, if you're chronically exhausted, if you feel exhausted after a full night's sleep, this is truly a hallmark sign of adrenal fatigue, where you're tired all day, but at night you can't fall asleep, and your brain is literally scared to fall asleep. The sympathetic nervous system is stuck on go, which is the fight or flight response of the brain, and here you are all night long scrolling on your phone until you pass out from exhaustion, and then you sleep. You wake up a lot, fall asleep a lot, wake up a lot, fall asleep a lot. That's a sign of adrenal fatigue syndrome or chronic stress syndrome. And then you get up in the morning and you're still exhausted. How many of you know people, or you yourself feel that way? Most people are that way. So that's a sign of adrenal fatigue and chronic stress syndrome. Number two, here's a big one: difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. This is a really big deal. Elevated cortisol levels, especially at nighttime, can disrupt the natural sleep-wake cycle, and your circadian cycle can get completely screwed up to where you are wanting to sleep during the day and you want to stay up all night, which, by the way, there are genetic predispositions for this. You literally could have genes in your body that like an MTRR gene or a COMT gene there are certain genes that if they're not firing proper are predisposing you to having these adrenal cortisol, spikes in your system. And when your adrenaline goes up, eventually it's going to go up and stay up for a while, and then it's going to crash. And if it goes up and down and up and down, you guys, that's anxiety, insomnia, anxiety, depression. All these things happen because of that. So that's a big, big deal. Here's another one. Number 3, do you crave a lot of salts or sugars? If you crave a lot of salts or sweets, those are signs that your body is overstressed. You have cortisol issues and your body is stressed, and you have adrenal fatigue or adrenal stress. Stress deletes key nutrients. Like I said, those minerals like sodium. By the way, sodium and potassium are 2 huge drivers of your adrenals. And I'm going to tell you right now, most people do not get enough potassium in their diet. Potassium, 4,700 milligrams a day is what the average adult human being needs per day of potassium. That's like eating 7 ginormous salads, and most people don't get anywhere near that within a day. And so these are folks that don't feel satisfied with their meal unless they salt it. By the way, I like salt. I'm a big fan of salt. I'm a big fan of Celtic gray salt. I'm a big fan, which is a sea salt. I'm a big fan of Baja Gold salt. These are high mineral salts, low sodium salts. Salt is amazing for your body, and you can repair your adrenal glands by getting the right amount of salt in there. But if you are craving salts really a lot, and if you feel like you can't be satisfied with a meal unless you have something sweet afterwards, that's another sign of adrenal fatigue or adrenal exhaustion. Here's another one, brain fog. How many of you know people that have brain fog or poor concentration? I mean, stress impacts cognitive function, causing difficulty with focusing, forgetfulness, and quite honestly, overall mental fatigue. And it makes it hard to think clearly and remember things. How many of you have ever experienced when you're stressed out, you can't remember where you put your phone, and it literally could be in your hand, or you can't find your glasses and they're on your face, or let alone you can't remember somebody's name or what you're supposed to do tomorrow? These are signs of stress. This is not a senior moment. It's not because you're getting old. It's because your body's not working like it's supposed to. So if you're getting brain fog and poor concentration, that's a sign of adrenal issues, okay? Here's another one, unexplained weight gain, especially around the midsection. If you have a lot of belly weight, a lot of belly fat, I need you to understand that that's not always because of overconsumption of calories. Usually, if there's a lot of belly fat or even fat around the neck and jawline, and even, people who are fit everywhere except for they've just got this belly, that's a stress deal. Folks, I'm going to tell you, I know that the last 5 years of my life, with all the stress that I dealt with by, fighting the federal government and winning my lawsuit against them and all, it was an amazing, crazy process, but it wrecked my adrenals. I don't care how, tough you are. You go through stress in life, and we all go through stress, but many of us let our stress get the best of us. And I've done that before. I mean, you can't be Superman or Superwoman and burn it at both ends of the candle all the time and not expect some negative consequences to happen. So if you've got this belly sagging fat that's going on, that is an indication that you've got chronic stress. And that could be caused by high cortisol levels, leading to fat storage around the abdomen where our body stores all these toxins, and even when you eat normal or healthy, you gain weight around that midsection. So in order to truly lose weight and burn the fat off of the organs in the body, you've got to get your cortisol and adrenals under control. You have to do this. If you don't do this, it's not going to work. And by the way, research is clear. Harvard just did a huge study on this. They released it 2 years ago. And the study said, even if people do calorie restricting diets and they lose weight from their body, they still keep, if their adrenals are high and they're stressed out, they still keep that abdominal fat and they keep their visceral fat. That's fat around the organs. And fat around the organs is what kills us, folks. I mean, that is a scary, scary deal. So here's another one, number 6, low libido. If you have low libido, listen, you have to understand this. Like, libido is healthy. Sex is healthy. It's healthy to have a healthy sex drive for all men and for all women, for all ages, right? It's healthy to have that. In the book, Becoming Biolimitless, chapter 15, favorite chapter of a lot of people, it says, let's talk about sex, baby. Because if you have low libido, that means that you probably have cortisol levels either too high or they've dropped off and you have adrenal exhaustion syndrome. If you get up and go, got up and went, guys, if you don't have lead in your pencil, ladies, if you don't have the desire to, do the thing that you used to do, it's probably because the cortisol levels are problematic. You've got to understand, because if that's off, then that's going to lead to a decreased sex drive. And by the way, if you're younger and you have adrenal issues in your 20s and 30s, your fertility years, that's going to lead to issues with being able to carry a baby, especially all the way to term. Number 7, mood swings and irritability. How many of you know people who, for little bitty light things, they just fly off the handle? They quote unquote overreact. That is an adrenal response. That's a sympathetic fight or flight response that the human body has because of being stuck in that adrenal, overload. And if you've got that mood swings or irritability, again, adrenal stress can cause that fluctuation in mood, and it leads to an increase in irritability, anxiety, and even depression. And it really screws up emotional regulations, and it becomes harder and harder to regulate your emotions when you're chronically stressed. And you have to understand that most people that you encounter during the day, you guys, you don't know their story. You don't know where they came from. You don't know what they've done. You don't know what they've been through. And a lot of these people that fly off the handle or that don't handle things appropriately, it's because they have adrenal issues. And we got to give everybody a little bit of grace on that. And by the way, if you have a moon-shaped round face, like I got these big old chubby cheeks, that's an adrenal response issue. How many of you have ever known anybody that's taken corticosteroids or even like testosterone cypionate, steroid hormones? What happens? Your cheeks get all swollen. Now, I take testosterone. I use TRT replacement because my hormones have crashed, because I've been under chronic stress for years, just like many of you have. And so if you're trying to lose weight in the face, it's impossible to do when you have these adrenal fatigue, adrenal stress issues. Here's another one, number 8, weakened immune system. This is a big one. Chronic stress lowers immunity, leading to frequent infections, colds, flus, longer recoveries. I'm telling you right now, I just talked to a guy yesterday. He's been sick for 3 months. He's had a respiratory infection for 3 months. That, if you have a respiratory infection for 3 weeks, let alone 3 days, that's a problem. But if you have this thing going on for months, that's because your adrenal glands, when your cortisol levels go high or go too low, that's going to cause dysregulation in the GI tract, and that's going to cause issues with your immune system. That's why it's so important to have master microbiotics, to eat fermented foods, and to keep your gut bacteria balanced. Your immune system, 90% of it lives in your gut, and it's going to get tore up whenever you're chronically under stress. Digestive issues. Obviously, this is a big one. Number 9, digestive issues. Stress diverts energy away from digestion. Let's talk about this. When you're under stress, many of you have experienced this before. When you're under stress, I need you to understand there's 2 parts of the brain. You have a gas pedal. That's called the sympathetic nervous system. That's your go, go, go. That's your fight or flight response. And then you have your brake pedal. That's your rest, relax, grow, develop, and heal. That's this is the healing part of the nervous system, controlled by the vagus nerve. Well, when your gas pedal stuck on go because of physical, chemical, and emotional stress, it's like a teeter-totter. One side goes up, the other side goes down. Well, when you're sympathetically overloaded, now we can't rest, we can't digest, we can't sleep, we can't do these things. And blood goes from our chest and abdominal area to our extremities. So we can run away, right? Because it's a fight or flight response. So we can run or we can fight. Well, when that blood goes to our extremities, that causes high blood pressure, that causes high cholesterol, that causes all the blood to leave the digestive area. So now it's going to cause stress on your liver and poor digestive function. So when people have chronic stress, that's why they lead to things like bloatiness, gas, distension, diarrhea, irritable bowel syndrome. When a lot of people have chronic stress and they eat, they bloat no matter what they eat, whether it's gluten, whether it's meat, whatever it is. Because it's the adrenals. So we got to get those adrenals under control and the cortisol levels under control. How do you do that? You find the root cause of the problem. And then number 10, last but not least sign of chronic stress or adrenal fatigue is dizziness or lightheaded from sitting to standing. How many of you have ever experienced dizziness from sitting to standing? Did you know that 9 out of 10 times that's an adrenal issue, a cortisol issue? That is a fight or flight problem. So when you're sitting, your blood is static. It's sitting right here in your skull, right here. Your blood is fluid. It's right here. Well, when you stand up, immediately the first thing that should happen is your adrenals, boom, give you a hit of cortisol, right, or adrenaline, and that adrenaline hits your heart, and boom, blood goes from here. When you stand up, now it goes to here. And if that doesn't happen, you stand up, you get lightheaded, you get dizzy. That is a sign of adrenal fatigue or chronic stress syndrome. So if you have that going on, or if you get what's called orthostatic hypotension, you sit and you stand and your blood pressure drops, that's an adrenal gland 9 out of 10 times every stinking time. The adrenal glands can cause that drop in blood pressure. When you change positions, it can lead to dizziness, lightheadedness, and all kinds of other issues that are going on. So you need to understand that. Let me talk a little bit about the adrenal pituitary hypothalamic axis. So the adrenal glands I talked about sit on top of your kidneys. Those are the organs that respond to stress. Your hypothalamus and your pituitary live inside your skull. And what happens is when we get that adrenal issue, it messes up our pituitary, which is all of your hormones. That's where your growth hormone comes from. That's where your healing hormones come from in your body. And the hypothalamus also regulates, your temperature, your hormones, regulates your mood. So when your adrenals get off, not only does it mess up your adrenals and your hormones, but it messes up your brain chemistry almost immediately. That's a big deal. And that's that sympathetic, overload that people get. When that happens, look, this is why I always run blood tests on my patients to measure their cortisol levels on blood. If their cortisol level is too high, they're under acute stress. That's new stress. If their adrenal gland or cortisol function is low, like a 6 or below on a blood test, that's hypoadrenal function. That's because they've been stressed out for so long, they've given out, they've run out of gas. So that's a big deal. All right, so let me give you my top 10. I'm going to give you more than 10, but my top 10 biohacks to improve stress and adrenal function. Okay, so here we go. Number 1, deep breathing. How many of you ever heard people say, just if you're stressed out, man, just take a deep breath. Just take a deep breath and you'll be good. Why is that? It's called a sympathetic sigh. Somebody write that down or remember that. Sympathetic sigh. So how do you do this? I'm going to teach you right now. And this is powerful. This is like in the moment relieving stress type of a situation. Because I'm going to show you some other biohacks that are really good. If you'll take these herbs, if you do these peptides, if you take the master microbiotics, you do those things, it'll help. But what happens right now when you're under stress? Here's what you do. Number 1, when you take a deep breath in, listen, when you breathe in, what you do is you breathe in and you breathe in a little extra. It's that double breath. So you go, and then you blow out. So watch. That sigh, that sympathetic sigh, doing that 2 or 3 times, that extra breath in, just try it right now. Wherever you're at, you're in the comfort of your own home. Do me a favor, as long as you're not driving, please don't do this while you're driving, because I don't want you to be so relaxed that you're like, I'm going to take a nap now. That's not what I want you to do. But here's what you do. You take a deep breath in, double breath. So deep breath in, and then, and you have to let out like that. My kids call it making dad noises, right? It's like when dads sit down or get up, they go, that's because we've had the weight of the world on us all day long, and we just need to let that parasympathetic nervous system function. So when we breathe in and breathe out, stimulates the parasympathetic. So that's one thing you can do. Number 2, cold exposure. Cryotherapy or cold plunges or a cold shower, or just take a bowl of cold water with some ice in it and just stick your face in it. You get that cold shock protein stimuli. It actually, over time, you've heard this phrase, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. It causes your body to adapt to stress. The human body wants to be stressed out, but it needs certain stimuli so that it can adapt to it. So cold therapy, it stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system and improves stress tolerance. Number 3, In order to optimize your stress, you got to try to get a good 8 to 9 hours of sleep every night. Sleeping in a dark room without a nightlight on, making sure it's quiet unless you've got some frequency or relaxation music that's playing. A cool room is a game changer. I mean, you've probably heard people say, hey, sleeping naked is a good thing for you. It actually is. The science and data shows sleeping in a cold, dark room, okay, not uncomfortable, but you actually get better, deep parasympathetic stimulation. But it's got to be that 8 to 9 hours of sleep, and most people are not getting enough of that. Number 4, adaptogenic herbs. Let me just say this: adaptogenic herbs. These are things like ashwagandha, things like rhodiola, holy basil, even a glandular. You can get a glandular supplement that is an adrenal glandular supplement. Those are powerful tools for you guys. By the way, soon I'm going to be able to give you some really great tools that'll help with that in addition to what we already have. Number 5, okay, exercise, but not excessive exercise. Gentle, consistent exercise. If you go to the gym and you work out and you feel like crap during or after, or you're exhausted for days after, that's a sign of adrenal exhaustion. And you need little bitty step, little by little by little, over a long period of time. That can help you a ton, but don't overstress your system. Number 6, eliminating processed sugars. I know this is a big one, but going on a keto or a carnivore diet, I always recommend a lot of folks, if you're not a vegetarian, hitting a carnivore diet for 7, 5, 10, 14, 21, 30 days, whatever, can help you reduce your stress because it minimizes sugar. And sugar is poison for the human body. It just is. It's the number one drug that all men, women, and children have on this planet, minimizing processed sugars. So a ketogenic or a carnivore type diet, game changer. Number 7, get out in nature. Man, go out, go to the lake, go to the ocean, go to the beach, go in the mountains, go barefoot outside, go hug a freaking tree. Did you know, and I'm talking to you here as a scientist researcher, research has shown you go out in nature, you give a tree a big old hug, you actually get positive ions from that. You go outside and put your feet and your hands in the grass, that positively charges your body. We're meant to be in contact with this planet, and getting outside in nature is so freaking powerful. It stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system. Number 8, nutritional supports. Focus on foods that have rich B vitamins. And listen to this: methylated B vitamins. Methylated B vitamins. In our cell signaling formula and a couple other things that we have that we're going to be getting out to you shortly, has methylated B vitamins in it. Methylcobalamin and methylfolate. Methylcobalamin and methylfolate. Those methylated B vitamins stimulate the adrenals in a positive way and support the parasympathetic nervous system. Vitamin C is a game changer. The adrenals live off of vitamin C. So 1,000 to 3,000 milligrams once or twice a day of liposomal vitamin C. Amazing for the adrenals, amazing for stress. Magnesium. When our body is deficient in magnesium, in fact, magnesium is one of the first nutrients that runs out when we're under stress. That's why whenever we're stressed out, our body aches or we get muscle spasms and cramps. So here's what you do. Go get some magnesium glycinate. Magnesium glycinate. And what you do is you take your body weight. This is the equation. You take your body weight times 10.6 and divide it by 2.5. That's how many milligrams per day most people need to be having as a supplement in addition to your diet for magnesium. And I take at least 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams every single day. I take a little in the morning and I take a lot at night. It helps stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system and helps your adrenal glands recover. Vitamin D, D is in dog, D3, not D2, D3, 10,000 to 15,000 international units per day of vitamin D3 has been a game changer for adrenal stress. Remember, vitamin D3 is a cholecalciferol. It helps make hormones in your body. It's a pro-hormone. It's not even a vitamin. So get out and get some freaking sunshine, but get some vitamin D3. That's a big one for you as well. And then also, supplementing with adrenal supplements like adrenal glandulars, adaptogenics, anything that has positive peptides in it. So things like BPC 157. BPC 157 is one of the most powerful peptides for adrenal stress, adrenal fatigue. Also, C-Link and C-Max. These are really powerful therapeutics for all those things. So please add those to your daily regimen. And last but not least, make sure you are taking a solid probiotic every day, a probiotic that can get past the stomach into the small intestine, a probiotic that is spore-based, a probiotic that has all the the bacteria and fungi in it that are going to support your neurotransmitters, they're going to support your microbiome, they're going to support your adrenal glands, and that's the master microbiotic formula that we created. So I know that's a lot of information. I hope you guys got something out of that. Please make sure you go back and watch this again. But really, it's all about finding the root cause. You could have physical stress in your body, misalignment in your spine, muscles out of whack, being overweight, being underweight, all kinds of things that can cause stress. Number two, you could have chemical toxicity or deficiency. You need to measure that to know. And then number three, neuroemotional stresses, pressure that you're allowing yourself to succumb to. So I know that's a lot of info. I know you guys got a lot out of that. Go back and listen to that again. And there's your deep dive, 30,000 foot view, ton of information about what you can do to help yourself from an adrenal stress standpoint. So very good. So let's do this. I'm going to go through now. If you have questions, go put them in the Q&A. I'm going to spend the next 20 to 30 minutes going over the Q&A now. So let me cancel these. I know I've got the chats off, but the Q&A is open. So go in the Q&A and ask your questions there. Okay. Someone asked the question, said, any adverse reactions to medications folks that are currently taking for high blood pressure, cholesterol, etc.? I don't know, Reggie, what the question is on that. I don't know if you're asking what the sorry, that's not a good question. Go back and redo that one. Someone asked the question, said that they were recently diagnosed with HS. Curious what you know about it. I actually know quite a bit about that. Look, usually with HS, okay, a carnivore diet or a ketogenic diet is really important. Making sure that you have adaptogenic herbs in your body to support your adrenals, stimulating and balancing out your gut bacteria is going to be super important for you. Super important for you. If you're not doing that, that's a problem. And having a multi-enzyme with each meal can be a game changer for HS and HS symptomatology. Somebody asked a question. My wife asked something for weight loss. Okay, well, that's really a wide open question. Now, I will tell you this. One of the projects that we have, we're teaching people how to reset their metabolism, reset their hormones, and a great side effect of that is weight loss, okay? So we have a project and a program that you're going to be learning about globally called 45 Easy. So it's 7 simple steps over 45 powerful days to reset your hormones, reset your metabolism, and weight loss is a great side effect of that. So go to 45easy.com, 45easy.com, and you can learn more about that there. But like I just said, getting the adrenals under control are key, and getting the gut bacteria are key. I don't care what your diet is. If you don't have the adrenals under control and the microbiome under control, we're never going to lose weight ever. Okay. So very good. Let's see. Someone asked me a question, Dr. Naputi, not sure if you can offer any insight or not. I have an issue. Whenever I eat anything, it instantly makes me want to sleep. Let me tell you what that is. Okay. So remember I talked about the different compounds in the body that are cell signaling compounds. So these are things like stem cells, things like peptides, hormones, bacteria, but enzymes. So let me explain something to you. Vitamins, minerals, and nutrients are the raw materials for your body. That's the basic building blocks for your house. Enzymes are part of the worker bees that break down those nutrients into digestible and absorbable chemicals. Enzymes also stimulate the cells to work. If you are eating and you feel exhausted or tired afterwards, that's stress on the liver, primarily through lack of enzymes. Go and get a plant-based multi-enzyme. Let me say that again, plant-based multi-enzyme, and start taking 2 or 3 of those with each meal, and that should help you quite a bit. Okay. Someone says, hey doc, I noticed that you don't use Bluetooth headphones or AirPods. Is that because of EMF? Yes, I don't like brain cancer. I'm trying to protect my brain as much as I can. And I'm telling you, the amount of electromagnetic field energy that comes from, I don't even like holding my cell phone to my head. And I know that may sound crazy to you, but I've done the research on the science. And I'm telling you, these earbuds, ear pods, now there's some new technology out there that I'm learning about now that is way less EMF, but I always use these because I just, it's an issue. It really, truly is a problem. And I would encourage you to look into that as well. Um, okay, someone asked the question, what's the difference between D3 and over-the-counter D3? Okay, so let's talk about vitamin D3 because vitamin D3 is essential. I'm telling you, if you're not supplementing it every day, there's no way you're going to be able to get it, and you can't get it from milk and cheese. You're not going to get enough. You're not going to get it from the sun. So vitamin D3, okay, not D2. D3 is 60 times more absorbable than D2. Okay. D2 is usually the prescription kind. And vitamin D, it's really important what kind of carrier oil is in the vitamin D. Vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin. So vitamin A, D, E, and K are fat soluble, which means you have to have and consume fat with it in order for it to break down and absorb. So when you have vitamin D3, it must have the proper type of fat, either extra virgin olive oil fat, some type of healthy seed oil fat. It's got to be healthy fat, and it cannot be some type of vegetable oil. You can't use that. And a lot of over-the-counter are less expensive because they have poor carrier oils and they don't absorb, and they're going to cause more harm than good. So it's got to be D3, and it's got to have a healthy carrier oil in it. Okay. Really important that you've got that. Great question. Great freaking question. Anything for arthritis? Yes. Find the root of the problem and fix it. And it usually starts with diet. You're usually eating something that you're sensitive to, or you're not doing the right supplementation that you should. So here's what you should do. The first thing I tell all of my patients whenever I take care of them, let's run a genetic profile. Let's look at your DNA. Let's find out how your genetics are firing so we can decide how you should sleep, how you should eat, how you should supplement, how you should exercise, all those things. Because arthritis, depending upon what kind of arthritis it is relatively easy to help with. Now, if it's rheumatoid arthritis, that's an autoimmune issue. And most of that starts in the gut with chronic inflammation. And then it's adrenal fatigue issues. But if it's osteoarthritis, that's usually because the joints aren't moving like they're supposed to and the muscles are out of balance. So we get the muscles balanced and you get the joints moving proper. And those types of problems can absolutely unequivocally go away. So there you go. Okay, let's see. All right, another question was, can stress cause hair loss? Absolutely. Take a look up here. Let me just tell you that what happens is when you get stressed out, it throws off your adrenal glands, your pituitary, your hypothalamus. It messes up certain hormones in the body, certain testosterone hormones. And some of those hormones, if they don't convert proper, we can get estrogen increase in the system, and that can lead to follicles dying. We can regenerate most hair. Now, if your follicle is completely dead and your follicle there is no follicle there, we can't wake that back up. But as long as you have follicles there, that hair can regenerate through exosomes, nutrition therapies, all kinds of things. But again, physiology doesn't lie. We test, we don't guess. Okay, we test, we don't guess. It's real simple to find the root cause if you run the right therapeutics to do that. Holly says, which of the new products contain the minerals necessary for the body? So if you talk about the core four, that's going to be our BioLimitless Daily. Because what we have is we have a natural compound in it that has all the 92 minerals and vitamins that our body needs every day for essential function. And it also has in it plant-based digestive enzymes to draw that into the system and stimulate the cells to work it. But I'm going to tell you, a great way to get minerals in your body? Go get some organic sea salt. I really like Baja Gold. Baja Gold sea salt comes from an area in California where the Colorado River runs out. So it's got sea salt in it, but it's got low sodium because that fresh water is washing it out. So I like Baja Gold salt. number one. Number two, I like gray Celtic salt, sea salt. And there's other salts that are out there. Himalayan is okay if it's the only thing you have access to, but just make sure it's real Himalayan salt. Um, by the way, Barb says it's funny. I'm sitting in front of a cigar poster. I am. I've been in meetings all day. I literally stopped just so I could do this talk for all you guys. And when I get done, I'm heading back out to meetings again tonight. So, yeah, I'm sitting at a restaurant in the back doing this. So thank you. Okay, so let's see. Perfect. A couple more questions. If you guys have some more at the bottom. I'm trying to get to there's a lot of redundant ones, so I'm skipping some of those. So someone says to me, what product do I do first? Well, I'm not a product guy, okay? I'm a physiology guy. So the first thing I would do is the DNA genetic profile test. That Biolimitless DNA discovery kit is literally a game changer. And it's not just the test that's amazing. It's the application and the results you get. Like the test is the test, but it's what do you do with it? That's where the prize is at. That's where the money really hits the road, is what information do you get and what action steps can you take based upon that? So that's super powerful. But I will tell you, if there's only one thing that you can do, gut bacteria. I'm telling you, if out of all the things that I do in my practices and all the things of advice I give people, if you can get your gut balanced, if you're eating for your body type, if you're eating for your blood type, you're eating for your genetics, and you're doing master microbiotics and eating fermented foods, that is the most important thing. I mean, that is the most important thing that you could possibly do. End of story, period, no question about it. So get your gut, fix the gut, and everything else falls into place. Another question is there a connection between stress and hand and leg tremors and nerve issues like Parkinson's? Yes. So whenever you are stressed, cortisol goes up. It blocks the absorption of minerals. Minerals allow your muscles to contract and to relax. What happens is if we lose our minerals, we get shakes. We get fasciculations and tremor-like symptoms in our legs, our hands, sometimes in our eyes. And a lot of times it's because of the low minerals. So load up on good minerals. Make sure you're getting a good 5 to 8 grams a day, 5 to 8 grams a day of good organic sea salt. Number one, adding some minerals to your diet is fine as well. It's very difficult to get minerals in your diet from foods today because they're just not there. But the answer is absolutely, unequivocally, 1,000% that it can totally, stress can lead to those symptoms. 100% can do that. All right, let's see what we got here. A couple more. Okay, for magnesium, the question was, how do you decide how much magnesium to take? I like magnesium glycinate. There's a lot of magnesium on the market, and people say you take magnesium threonate for stress, you take magnesium citrate for constipation. Yes, but if I had one magnesium to choose from, it would be magnesium glycinate, because magnesium glycinate will raise the serum levels of magnesium, which is the blood levels of it, which is the most important thing. That's like the gas tank filling up in your car. So here's what you do. You take your body weight times 10.6. Then you divide that by 2.5. That is how many milligrams a day of magnesium the average person needs to take in a day. Okay. Do you have recommendations for potassium supplements? Most supplements, if people are going to get, as long as they're organic, I'm usually pretty good with it. I don't like to drop names for different products and things like that because there's so many out there that are okay. Like vitamins, minerals, and nutrients are pretty basic. The problem is that most of the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients on the market aren't the right kind, aren't the right dose, aren't the right delivery mechanism, and they don't have enzymes with them. So soon, I'll be able to release to you guys the daily that'll have all that in it. You can use that. Okay, let's go here. I already repeated a lot of the questions about the magnesium for dosing. What about H. pylori? So H. pylori is an overgrowth of bacteria that happens in the stomach. Normally it's because, now listen to this, normally it's because of low acid levels. And people are going to say, wait a minute, I have acid reflux. How can I have low acid? You have to have the right amount of acidity in your gut in order to produce protease. If you don't have an acid stomach, you can't produce protease. If you can't produce protease, your body's not going to digest protein, and you're going to have an overgrowth risk of H. pylori. So what can you do? Apple cider vinegar that has mother in it. Apple cider vinegar with mother. A shot in the morning, a shot at night, game changer. You can take hydrochloric acid as a supplement. They have HCl supplementation. Do not go buy hydrochloric acid and drink it. Get a supplement that has that. Get on master microbiotics, because getting the good bacteria in your body fights off the bad bacteria. Okay? When you eat, slow down, chew your food 15 to 20 times before you swallow it. Do not drink a lot of fluids while you eat. If you put those things into play, have a multi-enzyme with your meal, have your master microbiotics at nighttime, H. pylori is pretty easy to get rid of. It's actually pretty simple, but it's usually because of low acid production. Hypochlorhydria, not hyperchlorhydria, okay? Would you consider generalized anxiety or anxiety at all an adrenal issue? Yes. Listen, this is real simple. It's all from the brain. Anxiety is increase in sympathetic overload, decrease in parasympathetic. That can be stimulated by many things. And adrenal glands are going to stimulate that. Because when cortisol level goes up, sympathetic function goes up, parasympathetic goes down, the stress response goes up. So when we're under stress, physically, chemically, or emotionally, adrenals are going to hit, and then our sympathetic is going to go up, and that's going to cause the anxiety. It's not just because, it's not what it's, there are reasons to all this stuff, massive reasons. A lot of questions about the magnesium. What products for adaptogenic herbs for adrenal support? So again, ashwagandha, rhodiola, golden seal, ginseng. I like adaptogenic herbs. I like glandulars. Like I take every day a beef multiglandular. It's got beef liver, beef heart, beef adrenals, and beef spleen and beef testicles in it. Because when we eat those organs, it supports our body. And I just don't, I'm not going to eat beef balls. I'm not going to eat beef liver, but I'm going to supplement with it. So that's another thing that you could do as well. Okay, let's see. Prostate health. Okay, what about prostate health? This is a big one. I need you to understand. Let me just tell you this. I've been practicing now for 22 years. I've never, ever, ever seen a man that has prostate issues that does not have a problem with their fifth lumbar vertebra in their back. The way the body works is the brain lives in the skull. It sends electrical signals down the spine. The spine's like a big fuse box. And if you have a blown fuse, whatever that fuse controls doesn't work. Well, the fifth lumbar vertebra in the low back, down by the, by the belt buckle, or not the belt buckle, by the belt line on the backside, just before the, the cleft, which is also known as the crack of your butt, that's where your L5 lives, okay? And if that disc is compressed or the joints aren't moving, that's going to irritate what's called the pudendal nerve. That can lead to prostate issues and erectile issues and all kinds of hormone problems and etc. So that's number one. I also like saw palmetto. Saw palmetto is amazing for helping with the prostate. Also, an anti-inflammatory diet or a ketogenic type diet is really powerful. And then there are a lot of other things that you can do. Again, we need to diagnose and find out what the real cause of it is, but those are some things you can do right out of the gate, okay? Right out of the gate. By the way, if you want to find out where you can listen to replays of this and etc., biolimitless.com. If you go to biolimitless.com, we have resources there. You can go all the way down to the bottom and you can click on these collections. We have our Wednesday night wellness collections. We have our 45 easy collections there. We have our pep talk collections there. I mean, there's a massive amount of content that we have going on there. And the only way you're going to learn this is by listening to it, watching it, studying it, and taking notes on it and then putting it into place. So biolimitless.com is where you can go find that. Someone says, how often do you recommend we get adjusted from a chiropractor? It really depends on how much stress you're under. I typically get adjusted once a week. I'm a pretty busy guy. I carry a lot of stress. I'm also a pretty physical guy. I work out quite a bit. I'm also on, 12, 14, 18-hour airplane rides a lot. So the more stress your body's under dictates the consistency that you need it. Now, I have a lot of, like, most of my family, every 2 weeks they get treated. I have some people that go once a month, but here's what I want you to understand. When your joints are out of alignment, when they don't move like they're supposed to, remember this, 7 days. By the way, when it's out of alignment or stuck, that's called a subluxation. Subluxation. Sub means under, lux means life. Sublifation. When your spine's out of alignment, your body can't work like it's supposed to. If you're subluxated for more than 7 days, your nerve starts to demyelinate. That's why we recommend, in most cases, getting adjusted every 7 to 10 days. Really beneficial for most people. Okay. Let's see. A couple questions here. All right. Do I have any advice? If you work overnight? Yes, I do. So, man, they call it swing shift syndrome. So what I would suggest is this, and this is just a suggestion. It's been really beneficial for a lot of my patients. Is what I would do is I would change my eating patterns and my activity patterns based off of your day. So if your day starts at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever it is, because you work overnight, then what I would do is that's when I would take my vitamins and minerals. When you get up for the day, take your vitamins and minerals. When you go to bed for the day, that's when you take, some melatonin or some natural sleep aid formulas, and that's when you take your bacteria. It's very difficult. I'm sure you know and have heard the studies that people who work swing shift, third shift, graveyard shift, there's a reason why they call it graveyard shift, because people who work overnight don't get exposure to the sun. They're not doing normal daily activities. They're not necessarily in the normal communications of, the rest of the world, because we're sleeping, you're working, and vice versa. So just try to adapt your habits. And when you're awake, get in an exercise routine pattern. That seems to help a ton, because that graveyard shift is no joke, no freaking joke. Someone says, for the breathing, do you know box breathing? Yeah, I'm a huge fan of box breathing. I'm a huge fan of Wim Hof breathing. You can go to YouTube and look up breathing exercises. There's a gazillion of them on there. I just know that parasympathetic sigh, that is, there's tons of research on it, and it's just freaking phenomenal. Have I worked with patients with long haul COVID? Absolutely. I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of things that need to be done with those folks. They've got ATP problems, which means their body doesn't produce energy like it's supposed to. They have issues with their gut. By the way, most people who had problems like long haulers had a deficiency in bifidobacteria. Remember that, or write that down. Bifidobacteria, which is a bacteria that's supposed to be in your GI tract that really is the trigger for your immune system. So we found that detoxifying the body, putting them on a keto or a carnivore type diet, getting them to eat real clean, healthy foods, getting them to have 8 to 10 hours of sleep a day, getting them to move their body during the day, getting them to do high dose vitamin D, zinc, getting the master microbiotic that has the bifidobacteria in them, and having some peptides like BPC 157, the cell signaling formula, very powerful. I'm also a big fan of vitamin IV therapy. That really helps a tremendous amount. Okay, very good. A couple more questions and we're going to be done for the night. What about ED, erectile dysfunction? There's a ton that can be done for it, but it's all about finding the cause. My experience is that about 90% of it comes from two things. Number one, poor blood flow. If you don't have good blood flow, period, in your body, you can't get an erection. I mean, all the penis is two tubes that fill up with blood. That's all it is. And if one tube fills up and the other doesn't, that's called priapism, and you get a left turn or you get a right turn in that thing. It's what happens. So if you can get increased cardio, that can be a huge game changer for you, okay? The secondary thing it is again, problem with that L5 nerve in the back. That fifth lumbar vertebra in the low back controls the pudendal nerve, which controls blood flow and sensation to the penis, which can cause it to have erectile issues. Most men who have erectile issues have low back pain. Whether it's chronic or it's off and on, that could be the cause of their problem. And then last but not least, get your hormones checked, because that's a big component to all this stuff. Very big component. All right, I'm going to answer one more question. There's a lot of repetitive ones here. Let me find one that's a good one. You guys got lots of great questions. I really appreciate you guys. By the way, all the questions you guys have, make sure that you get those to me, whether it's at biolimitless.com or you get it to me from uh, uh, sorry, I'm reading your questions as well. Pep Talk, because you go to Pep, and I'll answer them live on there. Yes, lasers are good. I'm a big fan of it. Yes, we're going to start the 45 Easy Challenge together. I'm going to have a global, we're going to get with all the leaders, the global leaders, and we're just going to do it as a community together. Okay. So look, the genetic test is not 250,000 SNPs. It's 800,000 plus SNPs. 800,000. That's huge. Okay. Last question. What do you think of steroid treatment? Well, I'm not a big fan of injecting steroids. Cortisone shots, short term are okay, but long term are not. That's why you can only get 3 of them in a day. And the reality of it is that they can actually cause deterioration and degeneration of your cartilage and your ligaments, and they can destroy your liver, they can destroy your kidneys, and they can jack up your adrenals, which is going to cause you to gain weight, have fatigue, and all the adrenal stuff that we talked about. So not a big fan of doing those. So guys, I hope, give me a thumbs up if you guys enjoyed tonight. I know the chat's off, but if you guys enjoyed tonight, give me a shout out. We're going to put this on the website. It'll probably be up in the next couple days. Very good. Very good. So good seeing you guys, man. I really enjoy being here on these Wednesday nights. It's such a big deal for me to be with you. That's why we stopped what we were doing today. We found somewhere that had Wi-Fi that I could jump on and do this Wednesday night wellness workshop with you. I'm committed to helping you because I know that doctor is Latin for teacher, and my job is to teach, reach, inspire, and motivate as many of you as we can. Folks, we have so much work to do together. We're going to change the way that healthcare is delivered and received, and together we can make a huge difference. So until we meet again, I'm Dr. Eric Naputi. God bless you, God bless America, and God bless the world. Stay smart out there, and I'll see you soon. Be well, everybody.